Welcome, Miss Dreamcatcher 15. Crete. Awesome. Yes, today was a good day. Thanks for joining, Anna Elizabeth and Simply Candace Marie. Y'all just coming on in here showing the love this morning. I mean, it's not this morning, this evening. Y'all can laugh with me. I say good morning all day long. It doesn't matter the time. So how y'all doing today? Those who just came in. Oh, you from Chicago? Me too. Yes, come on, Joy, up in here. Hey, Posh, I see you. So our special guest is here. Um, so before, well, I'll wait till there she go. I'm gonna bring her on and then introduce what we're gonna talk about tonight. All right, she's coming on in. Awesome. There she
Hi,
is. How you doing?
good.
That's good. You made it.
I did.
Hey,
How are
Evolving
you?
Mama. I'm awesome. I feel wonderful. I'm gonna adjust my camera a bit since.
Me too. Okay, I can hear
Okay. I love the promptness of everybody just coming on in. Thank you, darling. You know.
now. I know,
He
right?
said I look gorgeous. Thank you, darling. Hey, Sweet Truth 25.
That's
Um,
my friend. That's
Oh, that's
Katrina.
your friend, girl. Okay. Hey, friend. Hey.
And
Um,
Shanika.
so this is I'm gonna jump right in and talk about why we're here tonight. Posh, you look wonderful with your pink. And so to get started, I am Bianca Cotton, founder of Behind the Confident Smile. It's a movement to inspire women to walk in love, live in hope, and be healed from past hurts. We have been moving since 2017, hosting Release the Fear meetups. Recently, we just host a workshop called The Power of a Healed Woman. Does Your Soul Need Work? I'm the author of 3 books, and one of them that I will talk about this evening, and the reason why I brought Posh on, is called Release the Fear Volume 1. It's a collection of voices liberated from fear. So feel free to give hearts throughout this live and make comments. Let us know that you hear us, and at the end we'll have a Q&A. So it's been on my heart for a while to actually get the women together that were in the book and invite other people to learn from them and why they chose to submit a story. But since we on quarantine, I figured let's go virtual, right? And not
Right.
just keep it to the women who are in the book, but as God leads me, invite women on to share their story about how they have been liberated from fear and continue to overcome fear in their life. So this segment is called hashtag A Voice Liberated from Fear. And Posh is our first guest that's kicking us off. Whoop, whoop. Happy to
Hey.
the first. So I'm sure you all read her bio, so I'm not going to read it for you. But I want Paz to start off by sharing a little bit about her, and then we're going to dig in more about to her story around fear. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Posh. Who are you?
All right. Who am I? I am 31 years old, and I know I look way younger. I am a Christian. I love God. I am a retention specialist, so I'm sure you probably read that in the bio at ISU. I'm an alumni of ISU. I am a daughter. I'm a sister. I'm a friend. I'm a godmommy. I'm a roommate. And I am a dancer. I'm a leader. I lead the dance ministry at my church, also the teenagers and children's church too. So I'm like super involved in not just church or ministry, but like in the community as well. I'm a Delta, so whoop whoop to any Deltas on the line.
And somebody said you're a great friend.
Yes, Shanika. Come on and plug me. You are too. You are too. So yes, that is a little bit about who I am. And I love to run. I have not been running.
Okay.
But I do love to run. I love to get moving and get active. I love people, but I also love my quiet time and to be by myself too.
Yeah. Well, girl, you better run for me too, because I like it.
I will.
I'd rather dance. I'll dance it out. Don't have me run. No.
Yes. I like to dance and run. So I am a half marathon runner. Completed my first half marathon in September.
Oh,
and I'm passionate about social justice. So that sums me up a little bit.
A lot of it. So I was reviewing the story you submitted and Release the Fear Volume 1 and was reminded about your journey through dance and dance ministry, right? Yeah. So one line that stood out to me the most, first of all, if you all haven't gotten Release the Fear Volume 1, pick it up. It's on Amazon and BehindTheConfidenceNow.com. So fear, you said fear crippled me, but I actively worked to overcome it Sunday after Sunday through dance ministry. So can you share with us a little bit more about what you meant by fear crippled you and you actively worked to overcome it Sunday after Sunday through dance ministry?
I'm having a few issues here.
It's all right. We're going to work through it.
We're going to work through it. Okay, so what I meant by that is I would say when I would prepare to dance on Sundays, we would have to have practice like probably like an hour and a half before each Sunday service. That would be like our praise team rehearsal. And we would just learn the moves, and by the time service started, I would get moves and not know, like, and be so scared to mess up and to not get it right and just look foolish that I would freeze sometimes and just I felt like I looked a mess, right? And just I was messing up the moves, not knowing and not catching on and not flowing. And so that's what I meant by crippling me. And then sometimes I would just be so critical of myself and really I think just be hard on myself where I don't fully learn the dance moves or take the time that I need to take to prepare, properly and to execute well. And I would just be filling my head with these negative thoughts and negative perspectives of myself and how I danced. And so I would say that how I faced it Sunday after Sunday, like I never got to the point where I was just like, okay, I'm not dancing. But sometimes I did used to try to think of like excuses of why I couldn't dance that Sunday or not show up sometimes. But I never like allowed it to make me quit. And so I say that to say a lot of times I did get up there very afraid and very nervous and scared.
So let's dig into a few things you dropped, right? Not quitting, but wanting to, looking for excuses. something else you said, I should have wrote it down. It was about, oh, not being prepared. And it sounds like feelings of inadequacy. So do you know where that stems from? Like where this started? And
Mm.
did it start with dance, or did it start a while ago?
I would say that it definitely started a while ago. We getting real deep. It definitely started a while ago. But I would say that what escalated it and what heightened it at the time was
Yeah.
somebody who just joined us.
Yeah.
Lenise, one of the dancers, so it was two dancers that I was dancing with at the time. One, I was comparing myself essentially. I did a lot of comparison, or I was struggling with comparison. And because both of the other dancers, they had education, one had a degree in dance, and one just was naturally a gifted dancer, like was Cole. And so I knew that I didn't have either of those. It felt at the time, I felt like, I just didn't have much to give or much to offer. And so it would scare me in how I would execute a move if I'm not pointing my toe correctly and things like that. So I would also have to spend more time than they did on different 8 counts or different choreography. And so I would say that is what heightened it and made it like really real in those moments. But I would say the deeper thing is growing up, I think that I just struggled with not having that cheerleader. Both of my parents struggle with addiction. So I didn't have both of my parents like there to be my cheerleader and affirm me, right? And so I think that in a lot of areas of my life, I struggle with affirming myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I paused.
Oh, no worries.
But yes, I struggle with affirming myself and just being affirmed and eventually allowing God to validate me and God to affirm me. But I always thought like there's that feeling or that question of inadequacy. Like, am I doing this right? Or does this sound right? Or does this look right? Is this right? Do I have what it takes to execute this?
So that's good, Posh. I'm so glad that you have identified the root, right, to your issue. A lot of the times, doing this work and helping women to release their fears, that's one of the questions that I ask, and we don't often take the time to reflect on what is beneath the surface. Why do I really behave this way, or why am I reacting in this way? So at what point in your life did you realize, because you weren't validated or affirmed by your parents, that that's the reason why you were responding in different situations? You get what I mean? Like at what point you was like, I put two and two together. I get it now. I get why I'm behaving this way. Now I can do something about it because I had identified what the root is. So take us through that journey.
Ooh. Well, I would have to be honest and say that more recently, within the last 5 years or so, I have truly gotten to like the root of that thing, and really dealt with it, or really, I would say, arming myself and equipping myself with the tools to properly deal with it. But I would say because I'm a social work, or because I have 2 degrees in social work, social work is about digging deep, right? Understanding people's backgrounds and what makes you up, like what your experiences and your upbringing and how your environment and social systems play a part in who you are. And
Yeah.
so I think when I started to study social work, and I'm in the classes learning about other people, right? Or learning about this field of study, and then really trying to, or really having to do my own work and think about my own self. And that's a lot of what my instructors and just the field itself promotes is you can't properly facilitate or administer counseling or therapy to someone and you don't do your own work on your own self. So I think during, like, in undergrad years is when I first like really was able to face it. Like, okay, there are some deep rooted things that I never really dealt with. And I never really realized, like, I was going through life, you know, thinking, here, I made it out of, you know, I beat the odds, right? Beat the statistics. And so I'm good. And I love, you know, I'm a friendly person. I'm a lively person. I'm full of joy. But really, no, you got some stuff to deal with.
You gotta have a heart check.
Yes. And so, can I pause us real quick because I want to make sure that this doesn't cut off.
Yes, that's right.
I'm so sorry.
Stay with us, y'all.
Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna just hold it.
Okay.
So I'm having some struggle over here, but hey, y'all. So yes, I would say in my undergrad. Are we still on?
Oh, we still going. Yeah.
Okay. In my middle 20s, early 20s is when I started to really recognize, like, I'm struggling with fear and inadequacies, and feeling like I'm not good enough and I'm not validated, or struggling with validation. And so, and then I would say, now I feel like we going off topic. I'm about to share something else, but
no,
like,
this is all connected. Fear has many cousins.
Yes, it's true.
It has many cousins. Comparison, jealousy, like it manifests itself in different ways. Overcompensating, right?
Absolutely.
And what it sounds like you were doing, like, I'm good. You know, I beat the odds. I beat the statistics. I got 2 degrees. But there's something in me that I have yet to tap.
Yes.
And it keeps coming up.
Yes. Yes. And so it's funny because I did think about this, like, is there fears that I have still right now that I need to overcome? And absolutely. So I don't want nobody to think like, oh, I'm just arrived.
Oh, it's like an onion. This was the best analogy that I've heard from a couple that ministered to me. It's like peeling back layers of an onion. Once you peel back one, you're like, ooh, that's feel great. And then there's another one. And then there's another one.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it's like.
and you can get to a point now where we're talking about fears that we have overcome, but there are some that we have probably yet to face.
Absolutely. And I consider myself as like this person that is super adventurous and super like take risk. I will do it. Like, dare me to do something, I'm gonna do it. And so when it comes to things that like I really am passionate about and I really want to execute well, and I start to experience like the fear, I'm like, oh, well, how you gonna be, you know, this person so adventurous and so lively or so ready to take on a challenge, but you're not ready to take on these challenges?
It's true. And fear likes to talk to your pain. So ladies who are watching, those who will watch, fear likes to speak to our pain points and like Posh saying, what we feel like we're inadequate about, or if you deal with perfectionism, like I call myself a ex-perfectionist. Like, if
Yes.
that doesn't, just because I recognize that I have overcome perfectionism, that doesn't mean that it doesn't try to come back and revive itself. Because fear likes to speak. The higher you go and the deeper you go in knowing God and identifying what your roots are and really doing this heart work that we're talking about, it likes to speak to your pain. Even getting on here tonight, y'all, like, literally, I had this idea a week ago from a friend that's watching live right now, from listening to her talk. And I was like, oh, I should invite, like, Pasha was the first person that came to mind.
Oh,
wow. God put her on my heart to bring her on to share her story. Why? You will be blessed, right? You know, sometimes we never know exactly the why. We just need to move in obedience. And that is another way that you can face fear, right? Acknowledge that you are fearful of whatever it is and move in obedience. Do the work to overcome that struggle and to unearth the pain that you're currently sitting in, right?
yes.
So I want to dig a little bit more if you'll let me. You said about 5 years, right, ago, where you started this journey and you've been working through, like, share a little bit with us about what does working through mean? Is it crying it out? Is it journaling? Like, what did your like releasing your fear and your angst look like?
Listen, it's a whole process. So I did think of about 5 different points that I could give people, if you will. For one, being honest with myself. Sometimes we can be in denial about what we are going through or what we are experiencing, and like you said, just stay on the surface and never like dig deeper. So sometimes it takes a lot just to get to the honesty part. So I think that also, you have to have good people around you, people that you can trust, that are going to be honest with you too, that you allow to be real and transparent with you, whether however they impact your feelings or not. So then, being accountable, right? Same thing, having people around you, gaining community that you can trust and that you know, for one, has overcome some things too, not just in the same boat as you, but also has overcome some things.
They can help pull you out.
Exactly.
It's
Y'all
almost
both
like
can't be rowing.
It's almost like the iron sharpens iron. You know, I need somebody who may be a little ahead of me and the journey that I'm walking, but I may be a little advanced than them in certain areas, so we can, you know, pull each other.
Exactly. And my mentor, so I'm talking about gaining community and stuff. I gained a mentor, but she likes to say, calling yourself to the mirror. So you need to be able to call yourself to the mirror too. And allow other people to call you to the mirror.
Yeah.
And truly face those things. But also, understanding, like, it took some time for me to understand that I'm not defenseless in this thing, and God has given me strategy to overcome. He's given me armor and equipped me with armor to overcome some things. And so what does that armor look like? Like, I truly did have to, I say this to someone, one of the dancers, shared with me. She was transparent enough with me to tell me how she kind of overcame some things. And so one of the things that I did was write a letter to myself, and to God. And I did this more recently too, to overcome some things. But I wrote the letter and I put it on my wall so I could see it every day before when I get up and before I go to bed. And so I would read it sometimes, and I also included affirmations and scriptures in there that are directly speaking to fear and who God created me to be. We know 2 Timothy 1:7. He did not give us the spirit of fear,
Right.
but of power, love, and a sound mind.
Say
And
that.
speaking that. Yes. And so another scripture that really helped me during that time was Jeremiah 1:8, where it talks about not to be afraid of men in their faces. And so in understanding, like, God is going to deliver me, and God is going to, he's with me right now, first of all. And this is not for men. I'm not doing this for a man. I'm doing this for God, and I need to be pleasing God in this. So I had to wrestle with what is the intentions behind why I'm doing this, and checking my heart, doing a heart check every time I dance and before I dance. And so writing the letter, writing affirmations, writing on my mirror, writing scriptures on sticky notes, and just notes to myself, like, you're gonna get through this, you're gonna overcome this. And then also reframing and changing, like, the way I thought about things. Like, I had to stop having a deficit mentality, in comparing myself, but also knowing that God uniquely created me. He gave me some unique gifts, but beyond gifts, like specifically with dance, like he controls my mind. He downloads visions and downloads visions for dance ministry and movements. And so I have to trust. And sometimes I would do a move and not trust or not believe or think that it was a good move. But, like, what is a good move? Like, you got to trust that God has given you this. And so go with what God has given you. And when you change your mentality or perspective, the way that you even carry out the movement will change. And so also, definitely visualizing myself free. So I have on my shirt, "Free to Dance," in the scripture, right? This scripture, whom the Son sets free is free indeed. So truly believing that God gave me freedom, and I have to grab a hold to that and walk in it, like, daily, and sometimes hour by hour, minute by minute, in that thing. And so and giving myself grace, like, I had to learn to do that, because I didn't necessarily learn that. That's not something that, and maybe my mom did, she's graceful towards me, but when you don't have someone affirming you constantly, or the foundation of affirming you, then you sometimes become that perfectionist and that overcompensating person, where you then don't know how to give yourself grace. So I had to learn how to give myself grace. Like, and then that's understanding too that God did not, I'm not perfect, and he doesn't want me to be perfect. But he will I serve a perfect God.
Yes.
Exactly. And he's perfecting me. So when I remove those standards and that unattainable standard, that I don't have to meet perfection, that helped a lot.
Yes. 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 I'm in church tonight, y'all. What I'm stuck on is the deficit mentality. I wanna talk about that piece right there a little bit more. Okay. You broke it down so good. So good. But the battlefield, right, of our mind, of our thoughts, and some people wake up with fear talking to them throughout the day, fear or comparison or whatever your thing is, right, y'all? Go to sleep with it. And you hit it on the head saying deficit mentality when your foundation wasn't as solid as you would have liked it to be in your childhood, and you are adult now and you're trying to work through some issues, and you're like, man, I wish my childhood was like this, I wish it was like that, versus reframing and saying, you know what, these are the lessons that I learned from my parents, these are the gems that I got from them, even if they were even if they did have their challenges, right? Even if they didn't speak my love language, uh, but I
They gave me
learned,
something.
right? I learned so much from them. Like God had these two people to be my parents for a reason. There were things in them that He wanted me to have, a combination of this DNA, right? That I needed to have in this earth so that He can get the glory out of me.
Absolutely.
So I want to challenge us and everybody watching this, focus on what you're thinking about on a day-to-day basis, especially now, when we in the house all day. You can't really run from yourself unless you got to really try really hard. But you are here to stay for
Yes.
a bit, and this is an opportunity to press pause and to really take some time and sit and be still, and not try to find things to keep yourself busy with, but to start to do the hard work if you haven't, or to continue to do that work if you have, so that we can be better vessels, right? To be used, to be poured into. So I just really wanted to take a moment to dig deeper into that, because that is so crucial in what you were speaking about, visualizing. I visualize myself a lot, doing a lot of things, and being a lot of places, and I see how that has gotten me to where I am.
Yes.
Like visualizing myself. Like I used to visualize myself with locks. Y'all see these things right here?
Yes, they
like,
function, honey.
I used to visualize myself with locks before I ever had the courage to like say, all right, I'm ready to commit to this thing. It don't always have to be super deep and super spiritual, y'all. It could be whatever. But visualize.
Making more money.
Right.
Anything.
Write it down. Write the vision. Make it plain. Do that, right? It's another piece you shared in your story. You said unafraid and free to dance. Are there other pieces and areas of your life where you are starting to break out of fear? And what are those things, if you don't mind sharing?
Well, there's a lot of areas. I would say one being this. I don't think that I would have said yes to this a year ago. Probably wouldn't have, because I would have been like second guessing, like, what do I have to share with these people? Or am I gonna look a mess, or sounding crazy? Yeah, so this is one, just really sharing, being free to share God's grace and glory in your life, in my life. So being able to do that more on a platform, if you will. I would also say at work specifically, I am a leader, overseeing a graduate student and like 15 other employees. And so in the past, I would second guess myself and my leadership abilities, and just truly not believing that I could lead anybody. And so I have been leading, and leading well, especially through this COVID-19 mess. So, and just
Good
truly
for
being,
you.
yes, empowered to like think of more creative things to do and to connect with students and to execute it. But also in other ministry, leading teenagers, I have been for a while kind of just coasting, and like our pastor asked me to lead this like at least 2 to 3 years ago, and I had been doing things here and there with them. But I will say this year, and maybe a couple, like 6 months ago, maybe last year too, I would just say the whole year last year, I stepped up my game a lot with leading them, and planning ahead and strategizing, and just truly assessing their needs and figuring out how to best serve them. And so I think that I'm flourishing that. And then children's ministry, like they just started
You
giving
get
me
it, girl.
different things to do. And so I'm leading. And with dance ministry, I didn't start off as the leader of the dance ministry at all. So, and I didn't want to be. And so now I'm leading the dance ministry, and it definitely is not without sacrifice, and not without just learning more and holding myself to a higher standard. So yeah, there's a lot of areas that the Lord, and then I would just say in my own personal life, with debt, paying off debt, the fear. So I'm saying leading, but fear. Truly, that's what was crippling me from like launching out and doing the things that I needed to do. And so, and with debt and paying debt, like I think I always thought like, Lord, I don't have enough to pay off debt. I don't have enough, period. So I don't see it, and being afraid to start paying things off or to devise a plan to do things, and not seeing myself, visualizing myself debt free. I'm truly being able to do that now, like because I have devised a plan and a strategy, and I have accountability partners, and I just have a whole nother perspective and mentality on it. So
Amen. All right, ladies, it's your turn. Write in the comment box what areas that you would like to release the fear from. We would love to hear from you. Come on through. Come on through. And while you all are doing that, there's a point that you shared that I want to pull out around. Well, actually, it was everything you shared. You continue to release fear in all areas of your life, and just wanted to share how once you do it in one area, it's like knocking down dominoes. It continues to, it's like the cobwebs you using the broom to knock down, like, oh, I didn't realize that was there. Oh, yep. I didn't realize that was there. So it's coming through free from making videos, public speaking with a live audience, free from the fear of not being enough for my children. Yes. What else, y'all? Releasing the fear of starting a business, being a mentor, and finishing my PhD. You better go ahead, girl.
Come on.
Get that.
Yes.
Free from the fear of surrendering all control, public speaking. What else, y'all?
Come on, y'all.
Come on now.
Yes. I'm unfortunately not seeing the comments.
It's all right. I'll read them out to you. Yes. Public speaking was the last one for right now, but free of finishing school and not creating my agency.
That's one thing that I had to release fear on too. Is starting a nonprofit.
Amen.
Yes. So
singing and going to grad school.
Yes.
Free from the fear of not reaching my fullest potential.
That was my fear too. You gotta start somewhere.
Yes. You gotta walk.
Yes, crawl sometimes.
I mean, seriously. While y'all are sharing y'all story, I'll share a little bit about. I have a lot of fears, y'all. No joke, but one of them was releasing my first book, A Journey Through a Beautiful Mind. And let me tell you, I started writing out of a means of therapy when I was in undergrad. Because I tried counseling, I didn't feel like they could really relate to my story. So my brother was like, maybe you should try writing. And I've literally been writing ever since undergrad. Yes. And my writing starts to come out in poetry format. And as I started to share with my mom and another friend, and that was it. They was like, you should turn it into a book. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. I am not turning my heart and pain into a book. Sorry, not doing it. So, but they planted that seed, right? The power of the seed. It stayed in me. And after I graduated college, I was like, oh, I'll play around with Microsoft Word and put, book in format for it. And try looking for ways of how to actually publish a book, because then I knew nothing about self-publishing, publishing, nothing. I mean, so I was talking to publishing companies, and it was like 10,000, 5,000. I was like, I just graduated from undergrad. I was like, is it any other way? I could get this good. And so fear came in like, nope, I'm not ready to share my story. I'm just going to let it sit on my computer. And guess what, y'all? It sat on my computer for 3.5 years, formatted. And I had the book cover designed. I asked a friend to do it. Everything was sitting there for 3.5 years because of fear. And so I'm coming from a place of knowing fear very well, of walking with it, talking with it, and now saying, no, you have no more place in my life. And 3 books later, within 2 years, in the past 2 years, I keep kicking fear, right? It's a journey.
Yes.
Once you do it once, you're like, ooh, that felt good. I need to do it again. So I'm encouraging y'all, do it. Take that first step. And some of the other fears that women have posted were free from not believing in and cheering for myself as I do other women, those closest and those not. Free from not believing that I can do great things like I cheer them on to do. Fear of not being successful. Fear of not being the healthiest mom for my kids in all areas. So definitely. Do you all have any questions?
Ask us some questions.
Yeah, ask us some questions. I'm loving this conversation tonight. I need my teacup right here.
And I couldn't get my water open.
But you made it.
I made it. I got some water. So
yes. So what questions do you all have this evening? Oh, one question. Can we see your shirt, Posh?
Sure you can. It says free for dance, and it has John 8:36. The scripture that I shared with y'all earlier. And it has somebody dancing on there. I actually got this from a dance conference that I went to.
Awesome.
Some years back. But it's fitting.
Amen. Because you run. Another question. Looking back, what was the moment that propelled you towards your dream? Oh, she said that question is for the both of us. So you can kick it off, Posh.
Whoa. Towards my dream. So I'm assuming this is somebody that probably know me.
It's S.N. Greet.
Shanika.
Okay.
Okay, so the question is, what is the moment that propelled me towards my dream? Okay, so try to wrap this up real fast. The dream that I have of starting my own nonprofit called Chase Youth, that dream was downloaded, deposited in me like years ago when I was in high school. And so it's always been in me. And I've always had the goal to run a half marathon to start it off. But I put off that goal for like 3 or 4 years. And so I think 2019, it was just a time where I would say death pushed me towards purpose a little bit more. And I know that may sound like gory or whatever, but for me, that's my story, because I have lost a lot of people that are close to me that I never would have imagined in this time period, and young people. I lost some of my students, and so I think God just has spoken to me during these seasons of grief and loss, of you don't, tomorrow is not truly not promised to us, and just understanding that like every day that we have is a moment to seize something, right? And more importantly, to seize purpose. And so what can I do to launch that? And it was just really more about getting moving and knowing that it can be attainable if I get moving. And so I started to get moving, and I would say that when I started running, I didn't necessarily even wasn't fully committed all the way, or even saw like the whole Chase Youth come to life. But as I kept running and was consistent, I started talking to people, talking to some of my friends that I knew had gifts that could help me create a plan. And so that's what happened. Like I started running consistently, and I started being committed to running for real. And then everything else kind of just kept happening.
Amen.
Falling into place.
Whoop, whoop. The moment for me, it's been moments.
Right.
One is, so my shirt says ideal hope, not dope.
Yes.
And so that's connected to one of my moments. Ever since I can remember, I've always been a person that liked to uplift people, that liked to deal hope, right? So I grew up on the south side of Chicago in the hood where people deal dope, right? And so I flipped that and said, I'll deal hope while people are out here dying, either mentally, physically, spiritually. But I didn't get the language really until maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But one of the moments that really pressed on me to start Behind the Confident Smile, because I've had several other ideas before this that I've allowed fear to stop me. And ever since then, I have transformed those ideas and created them anew for the future. But it was after having my firstborn child, and I wasn't quite ready to go back to work. It's something about having that first baby in your arms. You're like, 12 weeks is not enough to cuddle, this little being. And I started praying and asking God to show me how I could quit my job and make some money now. Right?
Yes.
That's God's in our relationship. I'm
like, prayer
for that. So he was like, he told me to start blogging to encourage women. And real talk, this was my response. I was like, Lord, how is that going to make me money?
Come on, let's be real.
Let's be real. And guess what, y'all? I didn't do it. So
come on, let's be all the way real.
I was like, right. So I did it. And maybe 2 to 3 months later, I experienced something really painful at work. And I went back to God like, come on, Lord, help me. And he was like, I already told you what to do, right? To encourage women. So I started blogging. I didn't know what I was doing. I figured it out, right? And that's how the journey started. Behind the Confident Smile started as a blog. And I was blogging as God was leading me. And at that time, I was blogging once a week. Like, he was giving me stuff consistently. I would pray and ask him, what do you want the women to know? I didn't even know who I was writing to. I would just write and text it to friends like, I just wrote this. And they were like, oh my gosh, it spoke to my heart. And I'm like, oh, well, praise the Lord. Like, right. And the rest is history, right? So that's how I got started. Let me go back to the other question. If you could speak to your younger self, what are 3 affirmations you say?
You can go first.
Whoo, Lord. I think I would tell my younger self that it's okay to cry. And I say that because growing up and experiencing trauma and crying so much, I got tired of crying. So when I got into my teenage years and my adulthood, I was just like, I would be in church like, why are people crying? You know, like numb to it, to the experience. So I would tell my younger self that it's okay to cry. Like crying is healing. Crying is a form of prayer too. Like when you don't have words, the tears speak for you. So that's one. Two is to don't allow people's opinions of you to dictate who you think you are, who you think you should become, but focus on what God says about you and surround yourself with people who hear God too and who have the because that's so important. When you believe, when you are a believer, to strengthen yourself in community with other believers who are walking the walk. Number three, I would tell my younger self to start sooner. Like these visions didn't just come today, you know. They've been there for to start sooner. And what I mean by sooner is do the research, like get to know entrepreneurs earlier. Like ask them, can you mentor me sooner? Like just start preparing for my future a lot sooner.
That's good. I mean, I really don't know. One would say prayer is your lifeline. And so pray more. Pray all the time. Don't let nobody stop you from praying. Don't muzzle your mouth. That would be my first thing. And then the second affirmation would be to go, be, and do. And I tell myself this now, go, be, do. But it means like go forth, be courageous, be confident, and do everything God has for you, has put in front of you.
Yeah.
Or told you to do, I should say. Do everything God has told you to do. And so, yeah, be fearless. Essentially, that's what that would sum up to. Like, do it, do the thing. And then, probably the third one would be, it's gonna be all right. It is going to be okay. Like everything.
Yeah. Amen. This next question came from me. Oh. For the host, I noticed that you said you are an ex-perfectionist. What habits did you put in place to help you become an ex-perfectionist? Oh, that's a good one. So one thing that I still do to this day is recognize when I'm trying to control situations. And understand my locus of control. And locus of control is what can I do? Not you or him over there or, Susie down the street. What am I in charge of? And focus on fulfilling those obligations versus trying to control the outcomes of other people's lives.
That's good.
So recognizing that and identifying that and saying, you know what, I'm going to put a pause on that because now their problems are starting to stress me out and I'm starting to carry the burdens because I'm trying to live somebody else's life for them, essentially, without really trying to. So that's one piece. Another is to stay in the Word and study people that God put in leadership positions, because I truly believe whatever the enemy fights us on, God is trying to tell us this is what I called you to do. So if I struggle with control, then maybe God called me to be a leader, and I need to learn how to lead in the way that he called me to lead versus how the world sees it. So anytime like you notice that you're struggling with something, like get to the root of it. Also ask God to shed light on what is he teaching you about yourself. And what is it that he needs you to focus on in this season regarding perfection, right? And is perfection tied to feeling like it needs to be perfect because I need to show up a certain way, I need to look a certain way, I need to do a certain thing, or my clothes got a little wrinkle there. I mean, it can get, depending on how deep it is for you, it can be real deep.
That's
So,
good.
and that's what I would say about those habits. And something for me that really helped me to overcome perfectionism is to jump in and do it. Like Nike say, just do it. I haven't always been a video person. Didn't really like getting in front of the camera much at all, really. So jumping in, like, all right, I'm gonna take on the challenge. I'm gonna face this fear because I feel like it has to be perfect, whatever I'm deeming perfect to be, but it doesn't. We all start from somewhere. Like I have to start in order to get better. If I don't start, it's not. I can't work on it. You can only work on something that you're actually doing.
Right.
So, right? Like,
Yes.
you gotta get going. You have to start. Let's see if there's some other questions. I'm scrolling. Oh, she said, girl, it can be deep, deep. Yeah, I know. I feel you. Trust me. I know from a person who was a straight A student, and when I got that first D, I was like, so excuse me, teacher. The perfectionist in me is like,
This
I
ain't
don't
gonna
fail.
work.
That's not how that happens here. Are there any other questions before we close out?
Y'all got any questions?
They cracking up over here. They said they're in tears. I see a whole lot of emojis laughing.
I'm glad y'all laughed.
Yeah. We really appreciate y'all coming on this evening and spending time with Pasha and I.
Yes.
This was awesome. My heart is so full. I hope y'all heart is full. What y'all think about tonight?
Yes.
There's some comments.